Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Fake out.
All right,
Hey,
tell
you're
us.
not in this episode.
Start us off.
All right.
Going.
What's up, guys? Episode 4. We made it to episode 4, finally. Are we ever going to get consistent in producing episodes, or was it just the
I feel
holidays?
like we're pretty consistent with it.
Yeah, we're pretty.
We had a holiday
definitely took
break.
like a 2-week break from everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I heard a statistic recently. Most podcasts fail before their 8th episode. If you can make your 8th episode,
Shit.
they say 90% of podcasts that make episode 8 make it all the way.
Kyle said.
Just throwing that out there.
Kyle said you needed to have 100 videos on YouTube before you have 1,000 subscribers. So I was like, damn, because what we have I think we have 10.
I don't think that's true at all. You need 100 videos in order to have 1,000 subscribers.
Like that's like the statistic.
Right, I guess maybe, but you can definitely just know.
At
some
the rate
people.
we're putting out content, we're gonna have 100 videos in no time.
Yeah. Sorry, shitheads, for not
Oh.
being super consistent over.
I also want to say,
break there.
I forgot my MIDI keyboard, which sucks because I built Dane a wonderful soundboard.
It's fine.
Next time.
Next
Don't
time.
spoil it. Keep it a secret. It's low key.
Well, it's not a secret anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Should we introduce our guest?
Yeah. So this is another artist. He's a pretty. He's probably the best guest we've had on the podcast so far.
you, Jill.
This man's name is Jackson, and I'm gonna let him explain kind of what he's about and what he does. And
You really think I need an introduction? People don't already know me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need a WWE style introduction.
John Cena. Well, yeah, my name is Jackson Reedy, and I'm an artist from Chicago, and I've been living in Grand Rapids the past 2 years or so because I'm a student at a graduate student at the Kendall College of Art and Design, where I've been getting my master's in painting, and I've got my graduation thesis coming up in April here, and then I'm graduating in May.
Well, congrats.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very excited.
You're not walking though, are you? Or do you think we'll be able to walk?
I don't know. That's a good question. I haven't thought that much. The graduate school experience has not been anything similar to the undergraduate, where that would have been an important kind of crowning achievement to me. So it's kind of like an afterthought. But hopefully, it would be nice to
Yeah, I
put
did
the
not
cap
want
and
to go
gown
to
on.
the grad ceremony. That is 100% for the parents, I
I
guess.
hate
Yeah,
commencement, honestly.
Yeah.
It was nice sitting on my couch. I just graduated in December, and it was nice just on my couch.
I think my mistake was that I started drinking before we went into the room, and then I didn't realize that I wasn't going to be able to go to the bathroom that whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just that was just
Why wouldn't you? Of course not.
I was for mine. So my best friend Connor graduated from Grand Valley State with me at the same time. We both had bachelors of arts, and so we were right next to each other. And his parents invited us to go to the bar beforehand, and I was in my cap and gown, and we got lit. I was standing in line to go sit down in the thing. I was oh shit! I was having anxiety. I was really lit. I was I probably shouldn't have done this, but I mean, it's
Were your
college.
parents
I'm
there?
going
Were
out.
his everybody's parents was there. You were
they
just
were there.
lit
Well,
as-
you just graduated. You had to
Yeah.
celebrate.
Yeah, and I was the one guy that was fuck it, and I got up and took a piss. People were talking. I was walking down the aisle. I felt like when a comedian's on stage and they're
Wait,
"Hey,
at
don't
Van
get up
Andel?
during my special."
At Van Andel?
Yeah, yeah. I got up in front of everybody and I walked down solo by myself all the way.
Oh my
Took a piss,
God.
and then the guy was "Where are you going?" I was dude, I'm gonna pee my gown."
I had a black eye in my undergrad picture. When they take a picture.
Oh,
I had a black
after
eye.
you get off the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you paint it on, or did you get into a fight?
Brenna gave it to me. Actually.
Jesus Christ. Sorry, B. Didn't mean to name drop you there.
Oh yeah, shit, my bad.
We'll bleep it out.
She'll probably watch
I definitely
this.
deserved it.
No, we're gonna keep it in.
We might have another one now.
We're gonna roll with
Yeah,
any
no, for
any
real.
sort of.
No, we're gonna keep it in. Okay, boss sir.
Yeah.
Dude, okay, so Jackson, you're a super dope artist. Can you tell me what is your favorite project you worked on recently? I saw the
Define recently what frame of time? Let's talk about that.
I'll let him define that.
Okay.
And then because I don't know what his project length is, so recent could be relative to him. But yeah, I saw you working on like craft beer cans. That stuff was dope. Who was that for? Like, and how do I get that beer?
Yeah. Well, it was early on in the fall last year, kind of after the summer COVID session and stuff, and things were kind of opening back up and stuff like that. And I just opened my email one morning, got an email from this guy named Terry, saying that he was gonna soon be opening up the first black-owned brewery in Michigan history, and they were gonna be calling it Black Calder Brewing Company was the name him and his partner had decided on after going through a few name changes, but their mission is dope beer for dope people, which I was like,
That's great.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not black, but I'm on board. Like, I love that mission. And if you guys are looking for an artist to like put your vision into form, I can do that for you.
You were like the intern at the meeting, just a bunch of black guys around the table.
Yeah, but I was like, it sounds like I can help you. So they gave me
totally opposite of every rapper's like experience. It's usually like the black guy surrounded by a bunch of white like corporate dudes, and then Jackson's like the white dude and surrounded by the black dudes.
Jackson actually knows the Black Illuminati.
No, but
The Black Anati.
Terry's a super nice guy though, and his first idea was to kind of take I think it ended up being like the magazine cover for Death Row Records, the four original rappers that were part of that collective, and basically I was rearranging that composition, but instead of their heads, I was doing beer hops for their first beer coming out, which is the Black IPA, and I did that design for them sometime in like September, and I think the beer, it got launched finally on Black Friday, right after Thanksgiving. That's when it came out, and I think they sold out of that beer like right away, in just a few hours.
Wow.
And I saw it got like a very high rating on craftbrewery.com or one of those like testing websites.
Yeah.
So they sold out instantly for that and were very well received by everyone in the community. And then I did another project for them recently where I was emulating John Michael Basquiat on a new kiwi and vanilla sour ale that they were doing, and then
Ooh, that sounds tasty.
yeah, it was very good. And then I'm working on one for them right now. That's going to be a hazy IPA that is going to be kind of the label is going to be riffing off of the movie Juice that Tupac started.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been doing some research on that, and I'm in the process of putting that together right now. But hopefully that should be pretty cool too.
If you need a list of movies too, I can just send you.
Yeah.
It's Black People 101. It's a course I teach at the community college.
I will keep that in mind. Thank
What?
you.
That was really dope. But dude, your brain is fucking crazy, bro. Like a lot of the art that you do, you were talking about you replace their heads with the hops and stuff, and like I feel like a constant pattern I'm seeing out of your artwork is a change in perspective. Can you like speak a little more to like I guess your approach and like how you fucking like make that work?
Yeah, I would definitely say like when people think of an artist, a lot of times in today's world, it means that, like someone who's wildly creative and like doing their own thing, and they've got these innovative ways of like they kind of do things their way. And I think that's true of anybody. Everybody's going to have their own little idiosyncrasies and habits and stuff that kind of make them who they are. But I do not see myself as like an artist per se, or like a crazy person. I definitely think that I take inspiration from other people who are artists, and I kind of refashion or reshape it into a way that maybe says something more about culture at large. And I see myself more as like instead of someone maybe directly making culture, I kind of see myself like flying a plane over it, looking down, taking the pieces that I want.
You're like
and
Elon
then
Musk.
throwing those.
I think Talos is in love with you. Like,
Dude, low key, like, has he ever been this excited? Like on this?
yeah, right.
He's usually just talking shit. But I was gonna say, I feel
Well,
like
he has talent. I respect talent.
in the context of being an artist, though, like that's what all artists do. Like they think like me when I create a song, or like even like the artists I work with and like guitar players, just like when they create a song, I'll be like, like fuck, that's sick. You're like, not really, dude. I totally stole it from this other song. I was like, no, it doesn't sound anything like that. You like heard that and you made it like your own thing. Like that makes you an artist. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like even if you're playing, like that's kind of how just like shit pans out, like in historical context. Like you work off of what's already there.
Right. There's no such thing as like original art anymore. Like we are.
Well, I mean, like,
Was there ever? I mean,
well, someone had to figure out scales. someone had to like make a scale. Someone had to make
Who
the
was it?
jazz scale. Someone had to like discover these scales. So like in the discovery, that is original. And I think there's very few things.
It's very
left to be
mathematical.
Well, we can make this into a metaphysical conversation, and we could say that those scales always existed
they
out
did.
there.
Were they
before
discovered,
humans,
or were
and
they-
then we just like discovered that they're like, oh, if you put these sounds in this specific order, like that's what sounds good. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
Right.
Was math invented or discovered?
It's like I definitely believe that humans definitely are. We're art creatures. We like are meant to like discover like that kind of dynamic, I guess, between like things that haven't been discovered yet but are still like foundational to like the universe.
Damn, Dallas.
I'm just saying, like, Jackson's like being like, I don't really create anything original. I'm just saying I disagree. I think everything I've seen from you is pretty original.
I think the act of creation in itself almost implicitly requires some element of originality, right? Like,
True.
if you're going to
Absolutely.
create anything, I mean, unless it's real exact copy or you just push a button on a copy machine,
yeah.
it's going to say something about your, paradigm or your aesthetic, So it is weird, but at the same time, I am totally of the opinion that most, like, really enriching and deep art has to riff off of what came before it or somehow
Absolutely.
repurpose it in a new way that speaks more to the time, But
Mhm.
I think it's Picasso's quote. I'm probably butchering this, but it's something along the lines of like, bad artists copy, but the best artists steal. And that's coming from Picasso, I think.
Yeah.
Again, I might be butchering that, but it's something like along those lines. And just like Picasso was someone who, for as much as he's like touted as seeing the world in this like truly original way, which, I mean, you can look at a Picasso painting and tell right away that's a Picasso. Like,
Yeah, 100%.
uncategorically, that is his, But at the same time, like looking at the amount of influences and art historical knowledge that was part of his practice and how he kind of spun that into his own thing, I think, and through his own, language of cubism and all that style. Now, when I want to do Picasso stuff, people have that attachment to Picasso, and they can keep drawing the lines back to this kind of endless array of signification that makes contemporary art really cool.
Wow. I mean, yeah, that's
Well said.
well said. Yeah. I mean, so like whenever I make like a drum loop, I always listen to John Bonham. I go back and listen
Oh,
to,
shit, really?
Like, yeah, I do.
I never knew you did
'cause
that.
John Bonham, in my opinion, is the best drummer of all time. And I listen to his beats and I draw from that. Like I listen to that, and then like you were saying, but just shape it for the times now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got to say, like recently when I've always done like commission work on the side in addition to the stuff that I kind of do for school. But like if I get a request now, like someone wants like a painting of like a baby or something like that. Let's just use that example. My first step these days, like knowing what I know, I would go to some catalog on Google or something, and I would pull up like portraits of babies that I like, and I would select a couple of them that are pretty similar, and I would base the one that I'm gonna do off of this portrait, whether that be in like the lighting scheme or kind of the background or just like the palette that's being used.
Right.
Like once I have somewhere to start and I can like buy into like I know what alphabet I'm going to be writing this story with, I can kind of like hone in on that and then keep myself to those confines. But like,
Definitely.
I'm almost at the point where like I borrow so many others or ideas of others that like,
anymore?
no, yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't do that because I can, just like, totally free, like make stuff and mark stuff up. But I definitely think there's a lot of value in just using
Being
the
inspired
ideas
by
of others. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, do you have a Pinterest?
I might. I've been on Pinterest. I look at it sometimes. I don't know if I have like an account though. I don't know if I click the login button or not when I go on.
Dude, I feel it. I mean, I get a lot of like web design stuff or like 3D printed, kind of like just projection mapping, like just stuff I'm into. Kind of like I'm building a website right now, and like a lot of the inspiration has come from like just like stuff I've seen on Pinterest. And it's like, yeah, like you were saying, like it's kind of not necessarily 100% original, but also like I'm kind of just like putting these pieces together and making it fit within this one picture. So it's kind of artsy.
I think it's like I come from like an athletic background too, and it's like every kid, like say you want to be a great athlete, you always have like athletes that you look up to and like you want to emulate their style. And it's like if you're a boxer, you can decide to be like an outside fighter, standing up, throwing a jab like Ali, or you can get inside and your idol's going to be Tyson. It's like, from an artistic perspective, like attaching yourself onto that style is almost how you find your own identity a lot of the time. And you're not, no offense, you're not going to be Mike Tyson, but to start with, a blueprint or some sort of foundation to build off of, I just think it's a good idea, especially for people just starting out with stuff.
especially like with the internet now, like having been like creating just like art and music for so long now, I feel like unless it's like a straight up movie, everything like I'm watching or everything I'm listening to or looking at is basically I'm using that as inspiration like for my own self. I'm like, okay, well, like how did they do this? Why did they do it this? And how can I implement like the parts I want to do? Like I watched like Loiter Squad for like 30 minutes, 40 minutes today, just like to be like, all right, what kind of videos did they put out? Like what kind of quality videos did they have? And I mean, the conclusion I came to was not very high quality videos at all, which makes me feel much better about what we're doing
Yeah,
here.
for sure. Then, do you ever, when you watch movies, do you listen to like how they mix the volume of the?
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially like when the music comes in a
and
movie.
Yes.
And how the music is like ratioed with the speaking pisses me off. A lot of times it makes me mad because it'll be too quiet or too loud.
I watched Crazy Rich Asians last night, and
That's a good movie.
whoever mixed but it's a great soundtrack. But whoever like mixed it did a terrible job because
In what aspect?
The music is so loud.
Yeah, that's the
It's
biggest,
so loud compared to like and then when it and then it stops.
It's like the Office intro. You guys notice it? The intro to the Office.
So
yes,
loud.
yeah, exactly.
Too fucking loud.
Terrible
Yeah.
mix.
Yeah.
Terrible mix. No bass in that intro at all.
Right,
Either.
right. But yeah, they did a horrible job in that movie. I mean, it's a great soundtrack, but it's just like you have to turn the volume down and then turn it up when
Dude,
yeah,
I really like The Pursuit of Happiness. I feel like because of that reason too. Like I feel like the
Malloy. You may remember Kyle Malloy from episode 2.
Get out of here. Go do your work.
I guess
but yeah, like The Pursuit of Happiness. I feel like it was so iconic. Like when he like finally made it, because like the music was there too. And it was
Yes.
just like, oh,
You ever try to? If you watch a scary movie without the music, it's not scary. No, not a single scary movie is scary without.
That's
the
interesting. I kind of want to. I want to do that. Yeah.
I feel like I can make a movie called The Void, and then just like it would be like no music.
There is
and
a
be-
movie called The Void. It's a scary movie. It's not very good.
Oh wow. Well, I'm gonna do it better. The Void 2.
The Void
The Electric Boogaloo.
Always Sunny references. Always. Well, what I was getting at with what I was saying is, it's cool with the internet how artists can like different ways you can be inspired, like and find influence, like Pinterest. Like some people like you're talking about for creating your website and like looking for your overall like image, you like go to Pinterest.
Right.
Whereas for me, I do a lot of like YouTube. Seeing how people film videos, seeing how people
You go down rabbit holes, don't you?
Oh, dude, fuck, it's insane.
Yeah.
Seeing how like bands like promote themselves,
Right.
seeing like what kind of live. I'm really into like how bands do live performances. Like, are you stripped down? Is it just like you in your normal everyday clothes? Is it like a thing? Like, do you have a like background graphics? Do you guys dress up in costumes? Like, everything, where like. You can make the argument that some things are like a shtick to like get attention. I would overall disagree. I think most things that people choose to do is like that's like also part of your art. Like you as an artist are also like a part of your art. Like I don't know if that makes sense or not. Like Jackson's shirt that he's wearing right now, that dope ass.
It's
suede
amazing.
shirt.
Yeah.
Like that's
I asked
like
him. I was like, "Can I touch it?"
like Rigo Suave.
Dude, that is one little added bonus of being an artist because like you can kind of wear whatever you want,
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Half the time, the way I dress,
Like a Hugh
sometimes I look
Hefner
like a
vibe.
painter. I feel
A
like,
painter,
yeah, just like really like long T-shirts. It's
like a house, like painting a house.
no. Yeah,
What do
sure.
you mean?
Actually,
What
sure.
what did you mean, Bunny? Like, what do you mean?
Honestly, I don't know.
I feel like your go-to is like hat
Yeah,
and windbreaker.
yeah.
Yeah, like
That's
always.
literally what I'm wearing right
Literally
now.
Visor, hat, windbreaker.
I do love visors.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I want to say though, and you'll find this interesting. So I just downloaded FL Studios, and they added a feature where you can take an image and put it into it, and it'll make a sound based on
What?
Yeah, it's
Based
insane.
on where it lines up, like what?
Well,
Is that like the most
an
recent
algorithm.
version of
yeah,
FL Studio?
Yeah, and I offered you should download it, but it like I don't know how it works, but it makes a like a drone note from an image. It's really interesting.
Can you touch this?
Yeah.
It's giving me
You
anxiety
should
that
touch
I
it.
can't see it move.
Well, just touch the trackpad.
But I don't have Ableton. I use Logic, so I
You
don't
need
know
to get
how to
Ableton.
do
You need
it.
to get Ableton,
That
so
is
it'd make it so much
Dude,
easier,
I'm
dude.
planning on it. I need to get a new computer. Honestly.
Connor, that is crazy. Because
Yeah.
like
Jill,
I
could
feel
you,
like when artists
check on that?
make art, I feel like it's really about
Call
like,
and make sure the
if you're
video's still going.
doing,
Make sure
like,
it's
you-
charging.
Hold on.
If
What
the
are you
video's still going, it should be charging.
Dane, sorry, continue, tell us.
No,
All
that's
good.
Is it? Are we good?
Sweet.
Yeah, we're all good. All right, so like when you're a musician making music, I feel like
Yeah.
you're also trying to create like a world or like an idea, like a picture through the music.
Yes.
And so that idea is like crazy because that's actually like I guess pulling it into existence.
I haven't tried it, but we should all try it together.
We definitely should. We should try to make like a
We
dope
should
song.
put one of Jackson's paintings.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
it'd be,
See what
it'd
kind
be
of
cool.
sound Jackson's.
Right, and then yeah, I mean, like, it's yeah. I tried using FL the other day, and I felt like an idiot. I was like, I have no idea how to use FL Studios.
I know a couple things, but
I called Colin, and he was like, yeah, I don't really know how to use it.
What is FL Studios? Is that a is
it's
that video?
Fruity Loop Studios. It's a DAW,
Yeah, it's
music
just like
software
anything.
that it's really prevalent in like the electronic music scene.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's great for making beats, honestly.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for like
Better than
it's
Ableton?
really good for beats.
No.
I mean, as far as beats go, I would say like more like
The 808s on
software.
it are-
More software musicians would use FL Studio. Like I think Deadmau5 uses FL Studio. Pretty sure.
He uses Ableton.
Does he use Ableton?
Oh yeah. But there is one in FL has this thing called Gross Beat, and it's fucking sick. But other than that, Ableton is my go-to, obviously.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Well, I mean, I just like Ableton.
Okay, just to back up a little bit,
Yeah.
Jackson was talking about commission, making art on commission, and I was talking to our friend. I feel like I've mentioned him every single episode. Our friend Louis D is asking you. He's
Yes.
considering. He was drunk as fuck last night, and I was talking to him, and he was talking about like, dude, I'm gonna get like him to like make me something.
We have a Zoom call scheduled for
Nice.
Tuesday. And,
I love Louis D.
yeah.
So what I want is I can just imagine him.
Louis
just
D
making
is
Dude, but
something.
he
great.
like the thing about Louis is like he'll say some shit like that, but he'll be serious about it. Like
Yeah.
he'll be all about
I
it.
love that
Yeah.
kid, honestly.
Dude, you made this jacket for Jill that was fucking badass. And like, yeah, he
I just did a painting on the jacket, technically.
I'm considering like as we're talking about Jackson's artworks that me and Malloy are gonna probably throw all the pictures up on the.
Oh, that'd be
On the
kinda
video,
cool. Just in the little
yeah,
corner
yeah,
there or
great.
I'll
something.
probably go screenshot them or
Yeah.
whatever.
I can send them over to you too.
Yeah. So I'm definitely gonna show the picture of you wearing the jacket.
Very cool,
It's a
very
good
cool.
call. Good call for sure.
Should we take a break?
He also brought up something. Oh, I
Con-
really want to
Con-
like talk
Connor's
more to
always
Jackson
about
thing.
breaks.
Yeah.
As soon as we get going, he's like, break time.
Yes, because that's you always put my music videos in. That's
So
why
it's
I
my
like
favorite
it.
part.
Connor's like, I'm only showing up because I know at the intermission my music's getting plugged in.
All right. Let's take a break.
All right, will you hit the?
How long has it been?
you
Let's
can-
take a
just
break.
look.
Let's take a break.
All right, whose music are we playing today?
That's a great question.
I'm gonna run to the
yours was
bathroom
last-
quick. That's cool.
For sure.
We did
We did Nightlife.
we did Feel Live, then we did Galactic, then we did
Nightlife was.
I
Last
think we
time.
did Friends Part 2
Mm.
last time. Do you wanna we can do another one of yours or one of my music videos or
Let's do Ha Ha with Terrence.
yeah. Terrence
That's a
is
good one.
It's
a really good
we
one.
talked about Terrence last time. He's basically our hype man, our shit
He's
show,
coming on
our
next-
shit
next
show
time.
wild card, and I think he's gonna be in one of the episodes coming up here
I'm
very
excited
soon.
for that. Yes.
And this is the first track off of Tachyon's Tell Your Friends mixtape, and it features Terrence because Terrence has a very beautiful, contagious laugh.
It's very contagious.
So this is Ha Ha by Tachyon off his mixtape Tell Your Friends.
This right here is going to be the shit. Yeah. Yeah.
And we're back. Great
Hope
song
you guys
again.
enjoyed that song.
I did a lot.
That song is great for the morning. It like really, it's yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Really
you're
wakes
like
up.
cha-chaing out of the shower.
Yeah.
Connor's
Well,
like, every day I get up and I listen to my own music while I'm brushing my teeth.
yeah. Like you listen to your own music? I do.
I feel like that's normal.
Jackson, have you ever done any sort of...
Oh no.
I have your Wikipedia pulled up here. Have you ever done any sort of like art for like musicians or anything like that? Like,
It's funny you should ask, Dane. I'm working on well, actually, technically, it's my second album cover that I've done. When I was in college, I did the album cover for the rector of the dorm that I lived in. Guy went by the name of PK. He is an artist on Spotify. He can be found under Nolan Patton, and I did his. I think it was probably 2016 or 15. I did his album The Salesman, and he is a Grammy award-winning songwriter.
What?
For his contributions he made to another artist who stole his lyrics and his melodies, and
oh my god.
yeah, but he ended up lawyering up, and he ended up taking home a Grammy out of the deal, which was pretty cool.
won a
Super-
Way to win a Grammy.
super talented museum. I'm not usually like a sucker for the guy playing guitar, but this PK guy, unbelievable acoustic guitar and
Really?
voice. Yeah, super from the soul. But I did his album cover a long time ago.
Will you do mine?
What's up?
Will you do mine next album?
Okay, we're getting... Shut the fuck up. We're getting there. Jesus Christ. Let me warm up to him a little bit.
I did that a long
Yeah, now
time
who
ago.
loves Jackson?
Anyways, go ahead. Keep going.
Sorry.
I did that a long time ago before I kind of knew what I was doing, but I just got contacted by a band based out of, I'll be honest, I still don't know if they're based out of Cleveland or Cincinnati.
What's her name?
It's all the same.
Their name is Fuzz Aldrin.
Oh, that's
Jesus
great.
Yeah, they're a bunch of guys our age.
It sounds
kinda.
like just like 70s Bush.
Yeah. Dude, well, they see themselves as kind of a revitalized kind of 70s rock band, but just in the present day.
Buzz Aldrin.
And their first album they're coming out with is called Peach Fuzz.
Jesus Christ.
So I'm working on the album cover for that right now, but we've got a
you,
pretty sweet idea. It's gonna
Can
be
we
pretty
talk
sick.
about what is the album cover of Peach Fuzz? What is that going to entail?
Honestly, there like when I was pitching ideas, and there's a lot of different directions we could have gone, and we settled into something a little more tame, but it is definitely going to be cool. It's going to be
Is it
outer
secret?
space, psychedelic.
Outer space. Okay.
Yeah, it'll
How
be.
old are they? Are they like
They're
our age?
they're our age. I think the singer is just a little older, like later 20s, but I think
Are
the
we
rest
all the
of them
same
are-
age?
Well, I've never met these guys, but shout out Fuzz
Yeah,
Aldrin.
shout out to Fuzz Aldrin. I didn't ask their permission to be on, but I'm sure they'll.
That's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
any
Fuzz Aldrin.
any
That's a
underground
great
band
name.
wants free promotion. Trust
Yeah.
me, I know how it is.
How old are you?
I'm 24.
Oh, okay, for sure. Just
Yeah.
wondering.
They're cool guys. I've enjoyed working with them so far.
Why are you laughing?
Sweet.
Tell us.
Don't worry about it.
Whatever.
What is your okay? So that's your second one. This is your second one that you've
Technically,
done.
yeah.
Sweet. What kind of what size like canvas do you use for that?
So for this, I mean, the thing about pretty much any art you're gonna sell to a client that's gonna be reproduced, that's not like a
Yeah.
painting they're gonna have in their house.
Yeah.
They're gonna need it in like a digital file.
Yes.
So what I've been doing recently is I'll just do a painting, and then I'll take a nice photo with a nice high res camera.
Gotcha,
I'll edit
okay.
it up, and then I can even put it if I want to make it a little more graphic looking or
Yeah,
make
you
my
edit
lines
it on,
straight.
like-
I can edit that in the software, and then a lot of times these like the beer labels and these album covers, they want text added on top, and I can't paint text. I've done it. It's just a pain in the ass, and it never looks as good. No matter how good you are, it does not look as good as just writing it in the program over top your design. So that's why I've learned some of
Wait,
these.
you can't paint in text?
No, I can paint text, like I can paint letters in my paintings. I've done it before, but it is a tremendous pain in the ass, and it always looks better when you can just type it out. Like you can put just the image on the computer and then type over it with, Photoshop or something like that, and put the letters you want in the place.
Why not
There you
just
go.
use a stencil?
You could, but even like a stencil, like if you get really close to the edge of the paint, it'll always bleed out somehow. And finding the right size stencil for this specific allotment of space you have to put words on an album, it's just better to put it in the software and then do the text as like a final step.
So for all my album art, most of it is not released yet, but for everything I've done, Rachel takes my photos, and this was like months ago before we even like knew you were going to be on the podcast. I was like, dude, it'd be really cool if Rachel took a photo and then you recreated it like in like
that'd be
a
kind of
paint
cool
format.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like, but like, you know, fuck up the colors and everything.
Yeah.
I thought that would be badass.
That would be cool.
I think you told me about that idea.
Probably.
I
He's
think
he's my painter friend.
I think
if I
we
ever
were,
talk about
yeah.
him.
we were,
He's the
in,
one.
we were
Painting
at, in line for Taco Bell. I remember this now. You told me about this
yeah.
idea.
yeah.
If I ever say like I'm gonna go, you can talk to my people. He's my people.
I'm his people.
Yeah, have your people talk to my people. That's just me.
Yeah. Okay, Dane, I'll see you at lunch.
I just leave everything to Dane. Dane's like
Oh, yeah.
fearless leader.
And that's
Yeah.
why I'm like texting people like, hello, where the fuck's the project? I gave you one responsibility.
Yeah, you're like
It's not always you.
You're like upload it to the drive. God damn it, Connor.
Hey, Connor, it's every day. Every time you don't do something, and the next day I just say the exact same thing. Upload it to the drive. No response. Connor, upload it to the drive.
Fuck the drive. I'm just kidding.
What's the biggest project that you've done? Like, maybe in recent times.
Before you
or
ask him that, I just have a question real quick. What is your favorite color?
My favorite color.
yeah, fuck my question.
No, I was interested in Dane's question.
No, I just wanted to ask.
Are you
Jackson
talking
something.
like favorite color to like see in real life, or my favorite color to like paint with?
What's your favorite color to paint with?
Well, the color that I use most, without a doubt, is white, and I think that's probably what most artists are going to say, just because paint out of the tube is really dark. If you ever seen oil paint out of the tube, like I remember when I was around paint, like people would squirt the paint, and I'm like, that looks like it's like black, and like when the light hits it right, then you realize it's green. And the way you bring everything back to equilibrium is by adding white to thicken the pigment, kind of. So, I mean, anyone, particularly like a figure painter or something like that, is going to be using a lot of white to mix their colors, because out of the tube, oil paint is often not that useful. They make a lot of paints now that are kind of like pre-mixed and stuff, but
It's interesting.
like pure pigment is almost more of a dye, and then the white is kind of the bond that like holds to it, that you then push it around with.
Wait, but that's the most used color, not necessarily your favorite.
Oh, yeah, my favorite color. Shit, I'm getting off topic. My favorite color, I'd have to say, is just like a nice green, like a nice teal green,
a teal
Teal
green.
green.
like an emeraldy kind of true green.
Okay.
How about
Yeah.
shit green?
Not as much a fan of the shit green, but
Connor's like,
it has
shit
its,
green? You like it?
It's shit sells.
Yeah, shit sells. That's what I'm saying. No, but okay, let's go back to what you were talking about. Like,
What's the biggest project you've ever done?
Yeah, sorry,
paint-wise?
sorry.
Because I've seen, like, when I see your Instagram and everything, I see you're always working on these huge ass projects, and I'm just
Are you
curious
talking about
which.
scale?
Yeah, are you
Yes.
talking about biggest?
No,
like
scale,
yeah.
like literally size. Like, what's the biggest one you've ever done?
The biggest thing I've ever made, I did a mural on a bar.
did you need a ladder?
Yeah, I've been up on ladders before. I did I forget what it was, like 30 feet by
Wow.
8 probably. So altogether,
Jesus.
that was like probably over 200 square feet. So just by definition, that's the biggest one I've worked on. But the longest time I've spent on something is a painting that I'm still working on right now that is 9 by 7 feet tall, and it's very detailed, kind of like across the board, which is why I started it.
What
the
is
first-
it? What is
where
it?
do you where?
Am I working on it right now?
Yeah, where do you work on it?
Well, part of the deal and part of the reason that I
You have a
chose
studio? Is what
yeah,
I'm missing? Yeah,
part of the
yeah.
reason I chose the grad school that I chose in Grand Rapids here was because we get studio spaces as students.
Yeah.
So we all kind of are in
That's nice.
the same environment or area, kind of. So we all have our own space, but we're all like next to each other. So there's a lot of ideas that go back and forth, and you
that's
get a lot of
cool.
feedback on your stuff. It's a very kind of communal environment. But I've got my own little plot that's probably as big as, I don't know, like the room in here. And like that big painting and a bunch of my other ones, that's where I have stored now, just stacked up against the wall. And then the project I'm working on at the moment, just kind of front and display. And I've got all my paint and materials and stuff around me when I do that. But I paid someone to kind of cut my wood for me for that one and build a nice stretcher bar, and then
Oh, nice.
I laid it out on a big floor and stretched the whole thing and gessoed it and sanded it and did that 3 or 4 times and started. I first put paint to canvas in the first week of 2020 on that, and I got to work on it all through the spring before we were kicked out in kind of late March of the studios because of COVID, and then came back and got about 2 more months of work in this fall, and then we got kicked out again. So I'm hoping by early February I finally can call this thing done. But
Are you allowed back in?
I'm back in January 18th, which I've been literally just like counting down the days
Counting
when I
the
can
days,
move.
Yeah.
Because right now my apartment is my studio, and I just like lean stuff against my kitchen counter and sitting there in the chair and doing stuff, and it's fine. I can get work done, but it's not
Feel cramped.
my ideal scenario.
Have
so
you actually had a job outside of like art?
yes, I let's see, I've caddied on a golf course for many summers. Kind of some years I do it, some years I don't. So I've kind of been back and forth, but honestly, it's a great summer job. You get paid cash and go home with it that day. It's good money. You're outside. You're hanging out with cool guys.
I heard
Are you a
I heard you like to paint shirtless for old French ladies.
I went to France for a job I had one time teaching painting.
Oh my
I was a
gosh.
garbage man in college. I worked at a Subway. I was a server here in Grand Rapids for a year or
Where
so.
at?
Where
At Sundance downtown.
Oh, I love that place.
Yep, I was a waiter there, but the last year or so, I've just been able to kind of do commissions on the side, and that's been enough to kind of keep me going, which has been good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely how. I mean, I'd like to get to the point now, like my workload kind of works with people coming to me with an idea, and I paint that. Ideally, someday it's like I make a painting and there's people bidding for it. That would be like the dream where
Right, yeah.
I can just do what I want.
Yes.
Not that other people's ideas aren't good, but it's like I'd like to paint what I have in
Yeah.
my head as opposed to
What are you? What's that 9x7 painting that you're working on, and who's it for?
So that's going to be the kind of keystone piece of my thesis show that I have coming up in the spring here, and the name of that show is going to be Fancy Monkeys,
Can
the
we
animal
go?
that became a god.
Can we go to that?
I think with my permission ahead of time, if I can check you in, yeah, they'll be letting people into the school to see. So it'll be cool to have. I'm gonna be usually when someone has an art show, there's a big reception and there's food and drinks and everyone comes and there's like a 2-hour session and the artist is present. You get to ask them questions. If you have never been to like a gallery opening for an exhibition opening at a gallery, it's really fun. Something I would definitely recommend. Like
We should go.
usually they happen on Friday nights and stuff, and they're kind of the main thing of an evening, and they're usually free. Like if you're
Is
gonna
there
go in like
alcohol?
a city, depends on how cool the gallery is. But
We
a
should
gallery
rent
with its
tuxes.
salt will have some booze there, yeah.
Yeah.
And but so there won't be this for this show, but
Right. If we're allowed, we should definitely
yeah,
go.
it'll be cool to have some visitors come check
What
stuff out.
is your? If you could paint like anything and sell it, and you would automatically like get paid for it, what kind of content would you be painting? What subject matter? What is your favorite subject matter
Yeah.
to paint? I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, part of what kind of makes my painting unique is that like I like to paint different things. That's why my paintings kind of look the way they do. So like I definitely say a recurring theme in my work is the presence of a figure, meaning like the human figure. Like
Right. Yeah.
some sort of usually I base that figure off like an archetype in popular culture, usually as they relate to masculinity. So like I've done Clint Eastwood and Rocky Balboa. In this new painting I've got
The Rocky Balboa one's amazing. That's the
Thank
one
you,
hanging in your
thank you.
apartment, right?
The Marilyn
No,
Monroe
I've-
one is dope.
Yeah, but I do females too, and I kind of like to spoof off of what popular culture is held in very high esteem for, like our models and modes of behavior, what we should aspire to
Tearing
be,
it down.
and kind of I do I think I like art. Part of my beef with art these days is like so much of it is one sided and it's almost propaganda and how
like
clear
it
and
lacks
direct.
perspective, or
I just think like a lot of art like is shown to you these days and like this is clear how you should feel about something, and I like art that's like here's something to think about,
Right,
make
yeah.
up your own mind about it.
Yeah, yeah,
There's a
yeah.
lot of stuff like I don't like to, it's important to me that like I definitely have my own beliefs and convictions, but I don't want that to come across too much in the work. Like some of it is gonna have to, but I just kind of put stuff out there, kind of how I see it, and however you feel about it is like cool for you too. And I think that advances the conversation and makes just culture more rich in general.
And
Do you
so
think
you're
that-
saying a lot of art that gets put out nowadays is like, here's my opinion. This is what
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
is right,
Right.
and there's really no other way to interpret it. Whereas you're more like, I'm the same way, where I'm kind of like, like I maybe mean it one way, but it can be interpreted in
and
various ways.
I
and
think
that's how I want it to
I
be.
think the fact that it can be interpreted other ways is oftentimes like a signification that this is good art. It's worth noting.
That is crazy because like I was actually talking. Well, I'm like collecting data for a project right now. Basically, I'm trying to understand like by the top 100 list of music songs that have been produced or by country, like how those like beats per minute, like key signature, are like how that trends out like to the favorite songs.
I didn't know you were doing that.
Of that country, and so it's like pretty interesting because like what you're saying, the dynamics of like an art piece that can be like perceived or can kind of like traverse through time with like multiple meanings. Like one of the goals of my project is to just like maybe get like an AI to like make a song that like like traverses like will be a top chart song for like multiple cultures because
that's really cool. Tell us.
There's like a bunch of different just like cultures respond to different key signatures differently.
In Russia, we do vodka shot per minute.
This guy.
So you're almost like taking like a formulaic approach to like what's going to be successful.
Or what could have been.
Kind of, yeah. Well, because like it spurred from like some of my music friends. They were telling me how like within like the last decade or 2 decades, the top songs have been within like the same beat per minute range.
Mm-hmm. It's usually like
80
70,
to 120.
Yeah, it's like 120 is like 60 double. Right.
Hip hop is usually like 80.
Yeah, it's hip hop doesn't go past like 95.
Right. Yeah.
I bet it's true too. Where I have no evidence for this at all, but I bet if you had a whole series of paintings that were like baby blues and soft yellows and kind of glowing greens, all abstract, and you had one that was more violent slashes of black and red, I bet you more well received like to the general public would probably be the nice lighter hue. Like there are universal standards sometimes of what's going to be popular or attractive, but again, like I don't think art it doesn't like just because a song's not in the top 100 I wouldn't call it not a good art. And I'm not saying that you would either. I'm just like the whole question of art is such a crazy discussion these days with what can qualify as that and just how many modes of consumption there are and what you're entertained by and how many different media and how technology is only adding to this dilemma. It's like it's crazy just how pluralistic the art universe is than it was 50 years ago, much less like 200 years ago. It's just fucking crazy.
And Dane, you showed me this too, though. Like when it comes to music, like a lot of times, like a song that makes it to the top of the charts, usually it's because there's a lot of like promotion, like media hype behind it before it's even released. You know what I mean? And like, it could be a good song, whatever, but like that's what pushes it to the top.
Is it specific for a song, or is that like more so album? EP?
Well,
I think songs individually.
It's a lot about the artist. So
like
like
Drake.
The industry. So the bigger the record company, the more people working for the record company, right? So the more people that rely on that record company making money to pay all of its employees, right? You have the janitor that sweeps up in the studio, like what have you. So when you need to make money, you're going to trust someone like Ariana Grande or Ed Sheeran to make something that's going to be palpable for like a large population. When those artists are held responsible for like that task, the record company or the industry, like the promoting team, they're going to be like, all right, we're like, here's our marketing strategy, and here's like here's our projected numbers.
Yeah.
And that's why you consistently see the same people year by year, decade after decade in the top 10.
It's like an echo chamber, though. It's like they try to systemize it to like a certain extent where it becomes like you.
What do you mean by that?
I'll give an example historically of like what you might see. So like in 19th century France, there's this institution known as the Academy, which is basically where anybody that shows some sort of promise as like a youth will be taken off to the French Academy of Painting, where they will learn the academic approach to painting, and there's a pretty explicit list of subject matters that are appropriate and how your paintings should look and how they should be painted. And they're absolutely beautiful, gorgeous nude figures, you know, and like a lot of times it'd be like naked women like pouring bath water on something, or men in like some sort of like legendary war. And for as beautiful and amazing and as talented as those painters were, you go to the museum and you look at that wing that's got the French Academy paintings, and they all look the damn same. There's no divergence at all. If what you're inclined to like is like a Basquiat painting or a Monet who was working at the same time, you know, just in the new a la prima impressionist style, which he was so ridiculed for during his time, like no one's really in a position to say that one is better than the other. They're just different, and someone might have a different taste, but the Academy would stick its nose up at everybody that was not doing academic art. And like I will probably support the Academy more than most other contemporary artists, just because I have a tremendous respect for the legacy that they've given to figure painting and stuff like that. But I totally understand people's beef with, you know, French academic painting in the 19th century, because it closed so many doors for so many other creators alive back then. And I think you see that with music today. Like there's an accepted,
like the Grammys, like they talk about the Academy,
Yeah.
like it's like what's popular, you know, what's acceptable.
imagine like a heavy metal song being the most listened to song in the country. Like
They just wouldn't let it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true.
There's always like, you know,
That's interesting.
the Grammys adopted like the best heavy metal performance, but that's like only one category. And oftentimes like the rock categories will be taken up by like singer-songwriters who are basically pop artists, but you know, they play real instruments. It's just wild how it's the same thing. Like
what I wondered, it's a cycle too, because people that are uneducated consumers of what they even like, there's so many people out there with so much stuff getting thrown in their face all the time in their screens and iPhones, they don't even know what they like. Like if you ask them, but these are the most popular people on Spotify.
they're
I'm going to
told
listen to their music.
Yeah.
That's the thing that pops up. That's the suggested video. That's what I listen to, and it's this site. It's like a positive feedback loop of the same thing. So if you're
told what to like.
there's some responsibility and some culpability in the consumer too, and we're all such drones, you know, doom scrolling on the phone.
Right.
You know, think about what you value and what you like, and find something that's gonna help that out. You know.
How would you like suggest someone, you know, starts that path to finding what they like?
Well, I got of all the things I've like learned in my experience that like make me a better artist.
Wait, time out. You're saying like a lot, and like I made that like the mistake like on the first podcast. So just
Wait, what should I do?
What are you saying?
is that you're saying like a lot?
Oh,
and, like,
shit.
You're saying like a lot.
I was just saying like a lot to like kind of like, you know, like yeah, make a point.
Like yeah, like
Ignore him.
totally.
Keep going.
I mean like for real, like you do not want to go back to the podcast and hear yourself saying like a million times. It's just like the most.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What was the question though? No, I forgot.
You're right. Drawing attention to it probably helps a lot. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, you were.
Like advice to people starting out, like looking
Right,
at stuff. Okay.
right.
Yeah. I would say of all the advice I ever received was from one of my art history professors in undergrad, and she said the more art you look at, the better just critic in general you're going to be. And I was kind of like, how do I even go about that? But I found a bunch of like artists that I like on Instagram, and I followed all of them. I started looking up like local museum showings, and I attended those. I visited the Art Institute of Chicago kind of with a new critical eye, and just found more places to kind of just go and get out and see stuff. And it's not going to happen overnight, but over time you learn a little more. You've seen this, you've seen that. You can attach it to things in the past, and oh, this is kind of new. I wonder what they do. Get on Wikipedia, follow that. But it takes an active effort and a constant pursuit to kind of find out
what you're
about.
What drives that though?
It's the idea. It's the idea of refined taste. So, if you're going to be a critic of something, you're going to have to understand like the entire spectrum of that thing. So, like, I took aesthetics in college, which is like philosophy of art, and you know what can be considered art? Can we consider it to be good? Can we consider it to be bad? And you know what are the guidelines? So we talked about like refined taste, like the most trusted opinions. So like you go to a wine tasting, right? And most people there are like normal people, not very experienced in wine. Some people there are like, you know, sommeliers. Yeah, sommeliers. And then like there are like two people who are like masters.
The
like
grand sommelier.
Yeah, exactly. And so
They're
most
like-
people try the wine and they like it, and then like the sommeliers try the wine and they can tell you like, here are the reasons that it's good.
After they smell
and then like the master sommeliers, who've put in over 10,000 hours and they've tried a shitload of wine from all around the world. They say like, this tastes a little surprisingly like has a hint of iron in it because somebody dropped a key in the wine batch in the barrel where they aged this wine. And
Oh my gosh.
and so they could tell that, okay, like something, like I can tell what they're trying to do with this wine, but I can tell something is a little bit off. And that's like you're talking about, like if you want to become a good artist, you want to find out what you like and you want to find out what's good and why. You have to
Like, is
you have to
someone
be
missing
able
a
to
key?
take in just a vast amount of like whatever
You know what I do?
that makes you a better artist. That's like most people. That's why they like pop music, and that's why they like simple, beautiful paintings like with pretty colors. It's because they don't.
But they're
necessarily-
accustomed to consuming.
Exactly.
I
Right,
listen
it's
to
like, how
entire
do you get-
albums. Like when I find if I find an artist, like what? Did I just cut you off?
No, it's a lot of likes.
I've been counting how many times actually you guys have been saying.
Do I say like a lot?
Dane just said in that little monologue we had there about 12 likes.
I don't think
And
I
then
say-
It's gonna
you
happen.
It's
started
2021.
off-
like
I
fuck
know.
off.
I'm just saying.
Do I say like a lot?
Dang, you did just start off the sentence with 3 in a row.
Okay, hey, no, but do I say like a lot? I feel like I don't.
Everyone says it.
Yeah.
Everyone
You mean
Yeah.
you feel as if you don't?
Fuck you, dude.
The more you read
Anyway,
it, the more you say it.
I like I was saying, I listen to entire albums. That's how
Well-
I like when I find an artist that I didn't know
Enjoy,
before,
not like, but enjoy.
enjoy or didn't know before, and they just put out an album. Like I will listen to it from start to finish, and and I think that's you have to do that if you want to find what you like. Fuck you guys.
No, we weren't counting the actual real
Like,
life.
What you
Yeah.
enjoy,
Yeah.
but and then you can draw from that. But you have to listen to entire albums.
I was
People
wondering why the
pick and
fuck you guys are
choose.
laughing at me. I was like, my story's not funny.
Does anyone agree with me on that?
No, 100%.
I did a very interesting accidental experiment at the start of the semester, and I made a post saying, my last semester of grad school coming up, here are some of the artists that have like influenced me.
I saw that. That was
And
cool.
I probably put up 20 paintings by different people, and every artist that I posted is so much better than me at painting. And I think a lot of people that don't follow art that closely see what I'm doing, and they're like, oh my God, that's so unique and different, and he's so talented on this stuff. When I spend all day, every day just looking at people better than me doing stuff that I
Right.
do. So to me, I'm like nothing special. I'm just like scraping by. But when I posted all these, I mean, I got so many responses of like, oh, I had no idea that people still do this kind of stuff in this day and age. And I'm like, yeah, like that's who I look at, you know?
Yeah.
So it's
I don't
all
think you
relative.
said like once in that entire thing.
I
Can we
could have
leave
counted
the
a
like
couple.
behind?
It's obviously too much to think about.
I'm just kidding.
So
But that's interesting.
when we were talking about
You
like,
say that's interesting a lot.
when we were talking about
Fuck you, Tom.
taking
It is
in-
interesting.
taking in like all the art in order to like figure out what you enjoy.
Oh my God.
And I was talking about like taking in, all kinds of music and genres to figure out, I don't want to just listen to like radio stuff. I want to figure out everything that's out there and who is extremely talented, who I like. I was curious, what do you think would be like the pop like of painting right now? Like what do you see
Oh.
in your like
what style is like?
yeah.
It's a great question.
What is the modern style that is like, that's just kind of like white bread? Like the people who enjoy that kind of don't know that much about.
Everything at Hobby Lobby and Michael's that you buy in a frame. Or,
Brought to you by Hobby Lobby and Michael.
I love that store though. Just saying.
It's kind of like the
Yeah.
generic
I
art.
think there's a couple different ways you could take that direction. I think a lot of art colleagues will probably be angered by my answer, but in terms of going to the museum, what is going to be the most popular section of the museum that just is, like you said, the white bread kind
Yeah.
of thing that people like? Impressionism these days. Because everyone learns in our history class Monet and Van Gogh and George Seurat with the pointillism. Maybe that's a Chicago thing, I don't know, because we've got such a good exhibit in Chicago, but everyone likes the Impressionism, and it's like what's my filler movement in art history that I like? Impressionism.
Mhm.
In terms of the gallery scene these days, I think a lot of the pop art stuff is doing well. Stuff that takes cartoon characters from like the 90s or 80s and
Oh,
repurposes
yeah.
them. Stuff that has to do with money or kind of high finance culture and, look at
Bitcoin.
this. Yeah, all that kind of stuff sells very well with like the younger crowd that has some money.
hip-hop edge to
I
it,
think Jillian's point about the more crafts realm that's just kind of kish stuff that is not really original, that is more closer to like a wallpaper or something like that they sell at Hobby Lobby and
Like sorority girl stuff.
the maps. I mean, there's whole swaths of different like popularity depending on the demographic that you're targeting, but for like a college frat guy, there's a whole line of posters that they're going to advertise.
Just pink
you on your
flamingos
Instagram.
everywhere.
Fight Club.
That kind of shit. So it depends
Michael
on
Jordan too.
who you're talking
shit
about,
like
but
that.
Scarface.
of the real like artistic movements, I would say that right now the one that's like that I always see people mentioning as their favorite when their opinion may be a little bit uninformed is Impressionism. There's also people that really know it, like they have a whole understanding of art history and they really love Impressionism, which is great. And I like Impressionism painting too. It just seems like that, I think because that's the one that's taught in schools that people kind of like, they think they know about, so maybe they say that one.
People are often like, well, I don't know that much about art, so I'm going to assume the thing that looks most realistic is probably the best artist.
That's another thing too. And that's a weird issue because a lot of times people, like you just said, that don't know art, whatever looks the most real is the best.
Yeah.
And if that is your perspective of art, I understand where you're coming from because that's where I was for a long time. But once you can kind of cross that barrier and realize that like...
But also like we have... photography.
Every real painter alive knows that a camera can do your job better than you can in the click of a button. Like everyone's aware of that.
Yeah.
So there is something to be said for photorealistic art that is truly impressive in people's understanding of anatomy and their mastery of their materials to make something with their labor over hundreds of hours appear like you could peel it off a page, something like that. But again, especially in a time, if you look at the history of art, like you go to a museum, everything before 1850 is going to look very realistic.
Yeah.
Always. Like the Renaissance, neoclassic era, all that stuff, Baroque. You get to the invention of the camera, that's when the Impressionists started, and they're like, this technology can kind of do stuff for us. We don't have to do it. Let's reimagine it in a way that's still interesting to look at. Let's have people actually look at the paint, not the image or the illusion that the paint is making.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make this buttery stroke of yellow, that's the highlight on the side of this train, the thing to look at in the painting. Boom, you get Impressionism, and then the modernists say, oh, we don't even have to have a subject matter anymore. We can just make shapes and colors and shit that look together pleasing, and we can make that. And then Jackson Pollock goes, let's just throw it at the damn canvas for God's sakes on the floor and put it up. That's something to look at still. And that's kind of where art reaches its pinnacle of like, how weird can we get? How anti-subject can we get? And from there, since the 60s, it's been a totally pluralistic shit show of what kind of qualifies as art. And there's still a place for the realistic stuff. It's still an amazing skill that's in high value always. But I think the art, like a painter's job is to say, I can do anything within this, white space. I can make anything I want there if I'm truly a master of my tools and my skills. What can I put there that's gonna make the world interesting to look at through that lens? And that's
I think that's a like really important part about being an artist. It's like, are you trying to prove to people that you can just do what other people who are good at what they do have done in the past? Because when I make music, I feel like sometimes people always don't understand it because it doesn't sound maybe like exactly like somebody else sounds.
Well, you make some crazy music.
Yeah. Well, it's
great.
I think being an artist is like, pushing those boundaries. Like,
So
am I trying to show, is my skill going to be totally confined by, all right, I am now as good as this person, so I'm going to try to sound exactly like them, or I'm going to try to paint exactly like them? Or like once you get to that point, like you should be, pushing boundaries and trying your own
correct me
thing.
if I'm wrong with this, but like color, especially like I don't know how long ago, but like the color of the paint that was used in paintings said a lot, didn't it? Like vermilion blue, or is that
vermilion's a green.
Green, okay, but there's like
That's a nice color.
there was like there was like a color that was only used to paint the Virgin Mary or whatever, and yeah, you know, and then I think there was like I don't know anything about art history clearly,
Well,
but
color
like
had symbolism.
right, that's
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to say. Thank you, and then I think people started using it outside of that context to like you know, I guess go against the norm, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of the symbolism that we attach to color was born out of just scarcity a long time. When people were painting in the 1600s, blue oil paint, French ultramarine was not an easy hue to come by. Like it took great man hours and people going out and finding these special dyes that they would crush into pigment, and then
And they're really
you had to
fine,
sit
Wow,
there. You
that's
weren't going to
interesting.
waste it on some, you know, nobody artist. It was going to be some old man who had a whole studio of 50 artisans working under him, and he would get this nice blue paint, which wouldn't go on until the very last layer when he could mix it with medium and glaze it over, basically a brown painting, and kind of turn this last layer into like this nice, vibrant, translucent form. And the same with red and other high stuff. But since kind of the industrial age, when factory power and, you know, new elements in the periodic table are coming into play, and now we can synthesize blue out of cobalt or something like that, when they just never had that opportunity. And even more recently than that, in like to the 1950s, pretty much every color that's you can see on like a computer screen, through some method or another, you can make it with paint now. Not always screens are the most vibrant thing. They literally have, you know, light passing through them, so a screen will look more rich than like even the most skillfully made painting with synthetic, you know, acrylics and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the other thing that makes the art world truly pluralistic, not just in the ideas of what is acceptable subject matter or what's worthy for a painting, but also just how you can make it. Like the idea of straight edges and curves and what's the like stencils and stuff like that, or vinyl stencils. Like you can with those technologies, you can make anything that you can conceive in your mind onto a canvas these days. You know.
Would you say that color now like has kind of lost the meaning that it used to have? You know, back like early paintings, like color I feel like was like so important. The colors you chose meant like a lot. Like you were saying, symbolism. Would you say that nowadays has that been lost kind of?
I would definitely say so. I think like color, like look at this bag of Sour Patch Kids. That is brighter color. If you were born before 1800s, you would probably never see colors that bright in your entire life. So if you got the chance to see an oil painting made by an artist, it was like, holy shit, I'm going to see some bright ass orange today. It was like, oh my God, you know. One of the best examples, I got to go to France and I visited this cathedral in Chartres, which has had these beautiful.
Bright-ass orange.
Did you say sharts?
That's how it's spelled, but it's this beautiful cathedral with these huge windows in them that are like bright blue with and like amazing artwork on them that tell biblical stories. And they're super, super blue. Like even today, I'm like, wow, those are really blue, and they let in beautiful sunlight. And imagine being alive at 1100 where there's plague sweeping through France, and you're always at war, and you're frickin' starving, and everything is brown and black and shit. Maybe the sky's blue some days, but you don't see a whole lot of color. And then you step into this giant, insanely huge church in the middle of nowhere, and just there's sun blasting blue light in through the window. And imagine how the spectacle and how amazing that must have been. It's like the equivalent to someone now tripping on shrooms and putting on like VR. That's like literally what it was like for them.
Wow.
Just like kind of dumbed down. So we have so many colors today. Like everybody, you know, on their smartphone and screen, we see all the colors all the time. So it's not a big deal for us. But I think if you take the humbling walk through an art history museum and look at the color choices, there's definitely kind of you see it in a different light, because you're like, wow, what this must have been like for these people. It's so hard for us to understand, but again, we have new technologies today that kind of are that substitute of that breaking ground of like what's visually possible. You know?
It's impossible for us to understand at this point.
I would say like VR is like the closest thing that like comes to my mind immediately of like what it must have been like, because it's just something totally new that we don't ever see. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I painted in my room the Home Depot orange. It pops. It's nice.
Tachyon has a Home Depot cover song.
Oh yeah, I did do a remix of the Home Depot. It's great. But yeah, you walk in my room, it's just bright orange. It's kind of cool.
Very cool.
I think, well, I know you're a big podcast guy, so I don't think we can like walk away from this podcast before we we got to talk about aliens. I feel like
Oh fuck yeah!
we gotta
180
talk
days,
about-
baby.
We gotta talk.
I've been
I
about
thought we were
I've-
going to
I've
talk
been
about
waiting for
boring
this.
art the whole time. I get to talk
Nah,
about
no,
aliens.
No.
If there's any sort of rocks piled in any sort of way, aliens.
Aliens.
Right?
Aliens,
Think
obviously.
about it. Also, I'm a firm believer that the Egyptians found the pyramids. They didn't fucking build them.
I think that
Could be.
Do you think that the Egyptians?
They were there. They
You think
found
that the
them.
Egyptians like found the pyramids and then because like there's stuff inside pyramids that's like a burial
And they're
tomb.
not tombs, by the way.
They're not tombs.
No, we're taught that in school. They're not tombs.
Really?
anyone listening to the podcast right now, I'm just gonna throw a quick disclaimer, and probably proceeding from right now, we don't really know
No, this
at
is
all
fact.
any fucking thing that we're talking about. So just be
The pyramids
highly
are not
aware.
tombs. They're not. We're taught that in school, but they're not
Where are
tombs. No one knows.
So all of the artifacts that are found inside of them.
The
All the
buried,
dead people.
buried people with their possessions.
There's
in the
not
hallways.
mummies have never been found inside them. There's the Valley of the Kings.
I
That's
never
where the
heard this.
pharaohs were buried. Valley of the Kings. That's where their tombs were there. The pyramids had these chambers, but they were never. There's never like mummies aren't found there.
Magic Tree House got it wrong. Those
I
kids,
love those books.
Those fucking kids.
But
Never
here's the
saw
thing.
them.
So the guy who excavated the Great Pyramid was so convinced that the Pharaoh Khufu, that was his tomb, when he was excavating, he wanted it so badly to be the tomb that he wrote what am I trying to say? He wrote Khufu's name inside the pyramid.
What?
Yeah,
It's fake news?
And then was like, look, see, this must be his tomb. But and that's like, yeah, no
How-
mummies have ever been found.
How did they figure that out? That he wrote it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so
What are you googling?
I'm waiting
Right, exactly.
for Jackson to kind of get back, but I feel like he can probably hear us while he's
I can hear.
draining his lizard up there.
Oh my god. Are you gonna tell me that?
Would you like to? What kind of animal is it? It doesn't have to be a lizard, Jill.
Let's stop.
Is it more of a salamander?
Oh my god.
No. Okay. Well, for anybody who's listening that doesn't know this, and this actually
I'm looking at your phone. That is not a credible site.
Yeah, it
Whatever-
is.
What is that?
military.com.
No, get the fuck off of that. That's not.
All right.
gonna be-
Let's
Go
go
to Google.
to
Go to Google Scholar. Okay.
Okay, wait. How about the New York Times?
Fine,
Yeah, that's fair.
Fine.
Okay. So, for anybody listening to this that doesn't know this yet, this is not like bullshit. This is not like
Just say it.
some made up conspiracy thing. So last year, I believe it was in January of last year, or the Pentagon released some videos that the U.S. Navy took with their whatever.
Where are you going with
Whatever
this?
they
What
filmed
is
with.
this?
Can you just let me talk? Jesus Christ. So
Dude, I'm
the
kinda
Navy,
anxious,
the
too.
Navy, the Navy filmed a minimum that we know about of 2 UFO. There were actually actual UFO videos, and they got released.
Are we talking about the pyramid still?
No, we're not. You're the only one ever talking about pyramids.
Oh, well, okay. Then
'Kay.
yeah, fine. No more pyramids. Fine.
So
We're gonna blow up the pyramids.
last year in 2020, the U.S. government released the first ever official UFO video, and there's actually 2 of them, and you can go on YouTube and watch them. CNN's posted them, Fox News has posted them, MSNBC's posted them, The Guardian has posted them. These are real videos, okay? And since then, there has been a lot of efforts from like UFOologists to like get some of this stuff disclosed. And you know how it is in the U.S. where we write a bill for one reason, and then there's like a million like hidden things in the bill for no reason.
It was in the COVID.
So
thing, right?
in the COVID bill, where we were talking about getting
Stimulus.
people stimulus checks, was a demand for a disclosure of the government's
That's
knowledge
correct.
of UFOs. It's all federal government agencies have to
Just
disclose
snuck that one in there.
what they know about UFOs in the next 180 days, which is like 6 months. And I don't know, I think we're at like 172 now, or I mean 152 days left or something like that. I don't know.
Can't
remember.
Can I give my opinion on aliens real quick?
172. Go ahead.
Here's the thing. Like, there's no way. Like, I'm a firm believer that there's life out there. There has to be. But it is the universe is so big. There's no way they could have traversed that space to get here. There's not.
Yeah,
no
that's what
way.
Neil deGrasse Tyson thinks, and
I
a lot
don't
of other
like
scientists.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, honestly.
Yet UFOs are real. So, and
Okay.
the Pentagon just released
A
videos
UFO
of-
means unidentified flying object. It could be anything.
Well, if we're the most advanced civilization that has ever been on the Earth in the history of time,
I don't
could
believe
not,
that
I
either.
could not.
Wait.
expect-
Time out. Where did the pyramids come from if you don't believe in aliens either?
Oh,
No,
got him.
thank you. So here's the thing. I am a firm believer that there was an advanced civilization that has been wiped away. That it was in like.
Are you a Randall Carlson
Yes, I
guy?
am.
Okay.
Yeah. So he already knows. But yeah, that was an advanced civilization that was wiped out by some cataclysm, and there's no evidence of it because it's just been wiped away from history. And like, so I'm a firm believer that any technology that we're seeing, is just remnants of that. Maybe. I don't
Well,
know.
what's fucked
like,
up about
like
the
Epic
whole?
and Gilgamesh kind of wiped out?
Another
Like
thing
Noah's
too,
Ark kind of
it's
wiped
like,
out?
Well, what's fucked up about the whole alien thing is like there's so much bullshit out there. Like you can't really decipher for yourself like what's real and what's not. However, the only like real argument that I've ever come into contact with is like, okay, if there is such an advanced civilization out there that could make it to Earth, then they would have known we have existed for a very long time.
fair.
And I think the main argument is like once we started exploding nukes on Earth, the aliens were like,
Oh boy.
"Oh shit,
Yeah.
these monkeys like figured out something at the atomic level. It's
Right.
time to maybe to like check
Wait,
in on them every once
here's
in a while."
Here's the thing. So, Ancient Aliens. You ever see the show?
Yeah, that's another show that like
hold on.
invalidates the idea.
No.
of,
Hold on. I think
You know what I'm saying? The guy with the hair, he's like,
I love that guy, but hear me out.
"I heard a bump in the night."
Hear me out.
Aliens.
I think that show, like, I think they have the right idea, but the wrong reasons. It's like, they have all they're trying to explain all these weird things that they see, and then they go, oh, but aliens. But really, in my opinion, it was probably just an advanced civilization that has been forgotten about. It's like they have they're
I
onto
mean,
something, but
yeah.
it's not aliens. It's just humans were smarter than we think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The question is like how advanced, because you're telling me right now Manhattan, like think of New York City with all of its shit. Say like tomorrow, nuclear holocaust, everything gone. There is like fast forward however many years you want to into the future, you're gonna find evidence that fucking Manhattan was there. It's
Right.
literally a concrete city. Like
you wouldn't though because
you would, yeah, you would. You would have to. There's so much just matter there. Like if you were excavating that, like it has to go somewhere unless it's
Yeah.
being blasted off into the solar system.
How
So-
come we can
and-
find fossils,
well,
but we
the-
can't find like fossils?
Exactly. Like there's fossils of fucking dinosaurs which didn't build shit.
the
65
only
million.
thing that
The dinosaurs
the
didn't build
only
shit
thing
in their
that lasts
stupid
is
tiny
stone.
arms.
Concrete or like these metal buildings will disappear. It'll disappear. I'm sorry. Like
Okay, but it would.
I
take,
think
it would-
metal
you're
probably
talking about,
lasts
like-
longer than bone.
You're talking about like
like-
a multi-million year thing, and
Yes.
the Randall Carlson hypothesis is only like about a 10,000 year difference, which is like we're not. So the thing about that is attractive about that is like that location Göbekli Tepe, I think it's called,
Yes.
which dates to like 12,000 BC, which is like right before the Ice Age, and everyone's like, well, what the hell? Because this is like, but we're talking about a society that has like. They have agriculture, not like Manhattan with frickin' Times Square. Like,
Right,
there's a
right.
difference, and I don't think like, I don't.
all I'm
yeah,
saying
yeah.
is all I'm saying is like why is it so hard to like we're not there could have been an advanced civilization, like why not? Like if we can do it today, why anatomically speaking, humans have been this way for 100,000 years. What did we just do nothing for that first 100,000 years, and then suddenly 3,000 years ago started doing shit?
My,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
like prehistoric humans.
I'm saying
Yeah.
like anatomically speaking, we have been this way for 100,000 years. Okay, with the same brain, same intelligence, or at least ability to think this way.
It's because
Or we just-
4,000 years ago we were visited by aliens,
Oh my
Connor,
God.
and it's changed. It's changed everything.
All I'm saying is, what, like, 80,000 years ago, like, maybe they could have been. It's like if you were.
There is a scientific hypothesis, more pseudoscientific. It's not scientific, obviously, but it theorizes that aliens came down and they injected some sort of their DNA fluid into some sort of primate, and out of that because there's a huge thing in evolutionary biology where like the human brain size increases by like a huge amount in this X amount of time. I won't pretend that I know the actual numbers, but it's like, whoa, like we got really smart really fast, and there's people point to like the invention of fire and like human females like childbearing hips and all these like different things that could potentially biologically explain it. But there are some quacks saying like no, like aliens came and they injected alien DNA into monkeys, and that's how humans.
Why would
got
they
here.
have the same?
It's like
DNA,
Prometheus.
though? You know what I mean?
Well, I think one thing that weirds me out about the whole alien conversation is like there is like dating back to the latest science fiction and how we talk about them today, kind of how like God is talked about. We always want to make him or these aliens a person, like they've got arms and legs and they think like us, and they would want to surveil us like we would want a monkey. Who is to say that there's not even something that's not life that still is able to like be some form of intelligence?
It's just a
Like,
cloud that
I'm
can-
just amazed of like the limited, because people talk about like if there is extraterrestrial life, we're ants and they're like people. Think about how much more we know than ants. Like why would we even pretend to scrape the surface of like what their motives or what their stuff is, how they travel, how they reproduce, what if they even do those things? Like just our scope is so limited. It's just a ridiculous, like if you're talking about something that can literally travel the speed of light, which is going to be what's necessary to have this conversation, it must be so beyond even our grip. Like it must be.
If we were to travel to a planet that's essentially inhabited by a bunch of like cows or deer, like we would say like that's the cow deer planet. And like if aliens like visited us, if they have that technology to like come here, they'd be like, that's the human planet, like, and they're just like walking around having wars and shit. However, one thing that doesn't get talked about in this scope of intelligence when it comes to extraterrestrial life, we have to understand that resources are a big aspect when it comes to that. Like there is the possibility that we have not traveled extraterrestrially because of our lack of
That's true.
that is the
resources
reason.
within our solar system.
we
If
can't,
aliens had access to certain elements and just certain gathering energy from certain suns or like whatever what have you, they may have been just as smart as us. They just had resources that we don't have, and thus maybe their civilization took off way quicker than ours.
For me, and going back to what you were saying, you would like lights. You would have like the distance that they would have to travel. You would have to go the speed of light, which is impossible.
But I'm saying like maybe because of the resources that they have access to, they figured it out.
You can't travel at the speed of light.
Well, gravity can like bend light. Like in a black hole, the reason like you can't see one is because the gravity is so strong. It's literally like keeping the light contained to its grip. So I think I've heard like theoretically hypothesized like if you were able to manipulate gravity waves, you could theoretically like teleport instantaneously without undergoing the process of like
because
light. I'm not a physicist.
Because
at all,
time
but
also has to do with
yeah.
gravity, correct?
Oh,
So.
Yeah, if you're going the speed of light,
gravity,
if you're going the speed
gravity
faster than the
basically
speed
is
of light, you're
time.
going like back
so
in time.
if you can bend gravity around you and thus bend time around you, you can arrive somewhere like instantaneously.
Well, here's the thing. So the faster you move through space, the slower
you move through time. So a UFO is a time machine.
Oh my god! But here's the thing, and tachyons, and they in theory would travel faster than the speed of light, and if you go faster than the speed of light, you would start moving backwards in time. And then they don't exist, but as far as we know, but like as you approach the speed of light, your sense of time, like you experience slower. It slows down, right? Until you're at the speed of light. Like a photon does not experience time. Like if it could think, it leaves the sun and it's at the Earth like that. Like, it's 8 minutes to us, but to the photon, it doesn't experience time. If you could go faster than the speed of light, then you start moving backwards in time. So if I sent you a message in tachyons, you would get it before I sent it.
We talk about this.
I know, but I'm just saying, like...
No, yeah, but...
Yes. And so all I'm saying is, like, to move at those speeds, as far as we know, like, with physics, like, I just don't see how aliens could get here.
Okay, but here's the thing. Going back to like using gravity. So like gravity and anti-gravity or like dark matter, like I feel like, and I credit this to Elon Musk, because like I feel like his hyperloop stuff using magnets in order to like, you know, traverse very fast. Like I feel like the same idea could kind of be applied to gravity and anti-gravity if you understood how to like harness like gravity and anti-gravity.
Put the mic up to your face, dude.
Yeah, for real. But that doesn't solve the problem of however fast you're moving through space, you're gonna go slower in time. You know.
As far as we know, because we haven't
yeah,
discovered
but
any way
I
around
mean,
it yet.
When
Wait.
you talk about speed, though, what you're talking about is distance over time. That is the
Yes.
physics equation. When you're talking about like gravity and stuff, you're already fucking with the variables that determine speed. So
Yeah.
like, I don't even know if like to us it's speed. Like that's how like we think like could I race the speed of light? Ready, set.
But if your propulsion
Some
system
other,
is gravity itself,
some other thing, like some other form of intelligence or life, whatever, that is able to visit us. It's not thinking in terms of like distance over time. It's thinking like I am the variable. Is my like it's so beyond our scope. I think
It's like-
this is all if it is possible.
it's
Right.
like not moving through space. It's like they're stationary almost, and
Yeah.
the universe
Yeah.
is moving.
They understand
through
how to
them.
move
But, yeah,
space.
because
Right,
aren't
right.
distance and time the same thing? Isn't that what Einstein says? That
Yes.
time and distance are the same
Yes.
thing, basically.
Yeah.
So when that equation,
they're
like, when those things,
intertwined.
like speed is 1, it's 1/1 because they're the same. I don't know. I'm not a.
I've
I'm
read
not a
it.
math-
So
Huh.
I've read a lot of Einstein, you know, but yeah, thank you. But yeah, you're right. And so like, you know, time is a dimension, really, just like we live in 4 dimensions.
Yeah, right.
Sorry.
I don't know. I just.
Where are we going with this?
I just yeah.
All I'm trying to say is
my
I
take
read a
would be
lot.
on the UFO stuff is that, like, as attractive as it is, and as much as like I want to believe it, a UFO at the end of the day is an unidentified flying object. And while it would be super cool if like there was little green men coming out and the Pentagon released it, that doesn't seem like that's what's going to happen to me.
For
I
anybody
agree.
who's watching / listening and you're interested in this kind of stuff, I would recommend you to go watch the videos that the Pentagon released of the Navy filming the UFOs. Like we said, we don't know what they are. Look into the U.S. government having to release their UFO information in 6 months. We don't know if the citizens are going to hear that or if it's just to Congress or how much even they're going to tell of what they know. Probably not very much. But 3, also consider watching the Bob Lazar documentary on Netflix, it's probably the most credible.
It is pretty compelling.
Yeah, it's probably the most credible UFO documentary out there.
If you were to ask me, that's just from a civilization that was so advanced, and we just found artifacts from it. But
Interesting.
anyway,
What do you think about then, like the holographic principle, where most of like the matter that comes out of the universe is basically based out of like string theory, like a different like dimension? It's like
well, you know, I think so. When it comes to that, gravity really is the only thing that can like. I don't know a whole lot about string theory.
so
I
the
don't know a lot
gravity,
about-
the gravity is supposed to like theoretically all the gravity within the universe is supposed to collapse the universe together.
Right.
But instead of that happening, the universe is actually expanding, and it's expanding at an accelerating rate.
Yeah.
And so the holographic principle is kind of like based on black holes, how like the information gets sucked around the hole when like it gets sucked in. And so the idea is that like it's not actually like
Well,
it's not in the hole, but it's like
So-
like on the other side being projected like out.
So
I explained that terribly, but
one of my favorite ideas, at least with string theory, is that like gravity is a consequence of a force outside of our dimension, but we have the effects of it, whatever that may be.
I don't understand that.
Well,
It's
yeah,
like
I mean,
a force because like gravity is just like, it's like it's there because of the mass within the object.
well,
Well,
No.
that's
Yeah.
gravity as
Every
gravity as we've come to
object that
understand
contains
it.
mass has gravity.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like, and this is just a hypothesis that they say. It's like gravity is, there's something going on in a higher dimension, and we are seeing the effects of. It's like, if you were to, imagine like a two-dimensional world.
So like the fact that mass has gravity is more of a
Consequence.
a consequence, not a causality.
Exactly,
Oh,
right.
interesting.
And think about like a two-dimensional world, right? There's only
Line world.
yeah, right. And now imagine looking down on it and sticking your finger on it. What would the people in this world see? They would just see a
your
circle,
line.
Yeah.
right? They have no like.
Could they even see a circle? Because
No, they would just see.
in
They
line.
would just see a line.
Another line, like
Yeah.
a horizontal
Right,
line.
and now let's do it one dimension higher, right? So imagine now in our three-dimensional world, right? Like, something in a higher dimension, sticking their finger in quotes, whatever that may be. We would have no concept of what it actually is. We would just see it in our three-dimensional brains, and you know.
Yeah.
And so gravity could be a consequence of something happening in a higher dimension that we just don't know really what it is.
So then, could aliens not live in the higher dimension?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Connor's like, I don't want to get too far away from my past advanced civilization theory, so
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not
I'm a
going to
firm
go
believer
there.
in that. Why does every civilization have a flood story? Why? Because it happened.
Jesus Christ.
Because the multi-dimensional aliens.
Every civilization in history has a flood story. There must have been a giant flood.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that there was a overwhelmingly technologically
right.
advanced
You're right.
civilization before that. It could have just meant there was a big flood.
Yeah, and Abraham collected every single species ever known on Earth,
That
a
right.
male and female, and none
Yep.
of them ate each other on a giant
Yeah.
boat that must have been larger than like any
I just
continent.
think we are nowhere near as technologically advanced as you'd have to be to make alien shit, and the artifacts of what humans have done to the atmosphere will be around for and at least until the Earth is gone. I think like our matter, our waste isn't going anywhere. Like
No.
it'll
Right.
be easy to detect for whoever comes after humans.
They're gonna
that
be like, "They
someone
fucked
was
up."
here. Yeah.
And also, we have to realize, like, important message about climate change here. We have to realize that any sort of thing that we synthesized, like, from the Earth that we made, that's like man-made, is still like we didn't get that outside of our universe. Like, we still got that from our planet, right? So no matter how much we fucking fuck up and destroy the Earth, like the universe itself is gonna be fine. It's gonna heal.
Oh, yeah, for
The universe doesn't need our planet, okay? So the important thing about climate change is not that we're killing the Earth, it's that we're killing us. We're
Yeah.
literally killing our home.
Right. Exactly.
Like that's the important part to take away.
that is
People are
an
like, who care
excellent
about the
point.
Earth? Like, no, the universe doesn't care about the Earth. Like, we're concerned about us living on for another 100 years.
Right. And
Like,
as far
that's
as we
the
know,
concern.
this is the only planet that can sustain life.
Yeah.
And we're right. And like you said, the universe doesn't give a fuck whether or not we're here. But we're killing ourselves.
Before we get any
that got
further
really morbid.
carried away, let's talk, Jackson. What are your future projects that you're working on, painting wise?
Well, like I mentioned before, I've got my thesis show coming up, which is
Right.
kind of my next big life event, if you will. And I've already got some kind of commission stuff lined up for after I'm kind of through the rough patch here of getting my thesis and all those paintings done.
When is your thesis due? Like, when is that show?
So I actually don't have the dates for when the show's going to be up yet because the schedule got kind of messed up with COVID and re-entry back to the school and all that stuff. But it's going to be sometime between late March and mid-April, I think, is when I'm planning on installing.
Don't hit that.
And yeah, I'm very excited for that. But I definitely have some bookings going on later after that. But I'm I'm going to be a full-time artist after my show, looking
Nice,
for work.
dude.
So
That's really
That is
exciting.
sweet.
yeah, what's nice about art is every time I do a project for someone, other people see that my name
Yeah.
gets out there,
Yeah.
and the work just gets easier. So I remember a time when I was like, "Can someone ask me to do a drawing right now?"
Right.
Whereas
Right.
right now I've got it I'm on a wait list.
Yeah.
Usually, I mean, it depends kind of because
Is your thesis showing, like, is that something that like the public can go to, or
Yeah.
do you have to send invites, or how does that work?
The latest I've heard is that the school will allow entry if you are willing to wear a mask and stuff, and you're on the reservation sheet and you come in at a designated time. So hopefully they do something like that, because obviously I want to get as many people in as I can.
Yeah.
So March, we're looking at March or April. The public is welcome to come. Do you know
Allegedly,
the
we'll see.
allegedly? Do you know the location that it's going to be?
It's going to be on the second floor of the Kendall College of Art and Design downtown.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Nice.
can you give us your Instagram handle where you post all your art?
Yep, I'm just at my name, at Jackson Reedy, which is JacksonWrede. And then my website is just the same thing, jacksonreedy.com.
Yeah, we'll put it in the description.
Cool.
If you, like he said, he's pretty backed up right now, but if you really want a high quality, actual local artist that you want him to commission something, you should hit him up.
Will you do my album cover?
Last two questions that I have for you, and then you can ask if you have any remaining questions. First one is, who is your, as far as peer artists go, like as far as artists you've met or that you like know or work with, who's your favorite, and can we plug them right now?
Yeah, I'd say the man that I would credit with really opening the art world to me was my undergrad professor, Jason Lahr. Jason, J-S-O-N, Lahr, L-A-H-R. He's a really good guy. He wears an impressive long beard, and he's one of the faculty members at Notre Dame. And I had him for many classes undergrad, but he paints in a style where, like, you wouldn't even look at his stuff and think it's a painting, because it'll be like a kind of this weird mesh patterned background with different bright colors, and then he'll have some text that he wrote on like a weird angle, and then like a Darth Vader helmet and a bass fish. And it's all disconnected, weird stuff that just leaves you to kind of fill in the gaps and the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But he kind of showed me whatever you think painting is taught as in this portrait or landscape or still life, it doesn't have to be that. It can be whatever you want it there. And if you're interested in pop culture stuff and you want to use that picture from that magazine and this comic book character to inform how you feel about a subject, just do it and paint it however you want it. So having just his input and wisdom was huge for me, and he's an awesome guy, and he makes some great art.
I'm still connected.
Yeah, we don't talk that often, but like if I gave him a call, I'm sure he'd be happy to talk anytime. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Where can people find art in Grand Rapids?
I mean, if you haven't been to the Grand Rapids Art Museum, they've got some pretty good stuff. There are some local galleries downtown on Division. There's a few of them, and like right near the art museum. What's the name of the one that I like downtown? Jillian, do you know the one that Richard owns downtown? That's the gallery owner. I forget. We can plug that maybe in the description or something too. But there's a few galleries around. If not, a day trip into Chicago, and you'll have all the art that you want to see. That the art world is more manageable to do from a computer screen now than ever before. But there is still some truth to like a big art city like New York, Chicago, LA are always the three in America that are talked about. And it's true, if you go there, that's just where the market is. That's where people have money, and they will shell out tens of thousands of dollars for contemporary art paintings. And if you're in the right district, that's where, mecca of contemporary art is going to be.
Maybe we should do a shit show.
Oh,
shit.
That's a really good point.
We should just go through Chicago together.
I
and
was
take a trip out there.
Jackson, you were talking about how you do
a bit of a tour.
Yeah, that's
after
what I'm saying.
you
That'd be fun.
do all this commission that you're working on. You also want to, like, once you graduate, you want to work on more things that like you actually like want to do yourself. So on the Shit Show website, we're gonna have multiple things going on because we're a multimedia collaborative. And one thing that I really want to push for, just us knowing so many artists and being friends with so many different local artists, I want to create a page on the website that helps people showcase their art and possibly sell their art. If you're ever interested in submitting something that not somebody commissioned you to do, but like just something you like
yeah, that'd be cool.
and then you can like sell your art through our page. So that's something I want to do. And also, I know you brought some art to share with us today. Stuff in the process. Can we take a look at that?
Yeah, for sure. I thought this would be kind of cool to bring, just because it's cool when there's still some evidence of the process. Like
Right.
when I'm done with the painting, I like it to be masked like this has always been there on that canvas, but you get to kind of see where there's some underpainting going on and just how things are built up. Because I mean, this painting set the stage. Pretty much all the paint you see right now will not be visible when it's done. This is all just me kind of setting things up and stuff. And oil paint in general is going to be a lot more expensive than acrylic paint. I've learned over time. It sucks to have to buy a bunch of acrylic paint the first time, but once you do that, it ends up being cheaper because like this purple paint here and the black, that's actually just a cheap acrylic paint because you can't really paint acrylic paint over oil because it'll crack because the chemistry won't work out, but you can always paint oil over top a water-based paint. So I've just used, like, that's a trick I've kind of picked up on that I've been using more recently.
And I just see, like, as you mentioned earlier, like you're using, like, you know,
the human figure.
Human figure as a centerpiece.
Yeah, a lot of times the figure ends up being the centerpiece, and it is amazing. Like I try to think of like if some other animal, this is a weird metaphor to make, but a picture like cows have their own society and stuff where they make phone calls and go to work and go out for dinner and stuff like that. You go to a cow art museum. If you go to a human art museum, every single freaking painting is of a human being. Until you get to like the abstract stuff and modernism, everything. Like we are the most self-obsessed species ever.
Wow, good point.
And like imagine going to a cow museum, just all the paintings are of cows. You'd be like, what?
Bunch of
These
udders.
people are freaking obsessed with themselves. And like human beings are all about telling their stories just over and over again. And it's all about people. And like when you think about what you think about on a daily basis, sometimes we talk about aliens and the universe and religion and these deep, profound things, but usually we're like, fuck, I gotta get there by 6 o'clock, or what does so-and-so think, or is my mom gonna be upset? And it's all people shit all the time. Like we are social creatures, like through and through to the bone, you know?
I can't remember who said it. Well, actually, Jackson, can you like extend that to the camera?
I actually
yeah,
have
So, like,
one question about this paint. Is that a Whopper or a Big Mac?
You know, this is just it's not either. The title of the piece is going to be Cheesy Meathead. So it's not. I want it. I want
This
it to
isn't
look.
a commission piece, is it?
No, this is going to be for my thesis.
It's great.
Okay.
I love that. I love
Thank
that.
you. So I just wanted a nice, really
Juicy
good-looking like advertisement hamburger. So I'm going to paint it in a way with strong lighting and
Right.
deep highlights in the sesame seed bun. It's got 2 patties on there. So I was thinking it's like
SpongeBob
that
almost.
sounds like a weird choice, but because I did think like, do I want to make it a Big Mac or a Whopper? Like, and what would that say about the painting? Like, how would it
Yeah.
read
Right,
differently if it has that? You know, because people are going to think corporate and fast food and all
Right.
that stuff. Like, there's so many rhetorical attachments the viewer will make on if they recognize, oh, that's a McDouble, you know,
Or
whereas
obesity.
this is just kind of a stand-in burger, and like, what does that say that's different than like that
Right.
kind of burger?
You know, it kind of reminds me of, you remember the episode of SpongeBob when he goes against the god and he makes a bunch of burgers.
oh yeah, and then
SpongeBob
SpongeBob's
makes that
burgers is
one
like
burger.
delicious.
You know,
He cries when he eats it.
that's it, but yeah, this is great.
Yeah, I'll show the other one.
Yeah, fast food with a like a really fit person. Like I'm thinking about that now, and it's just like I think about obesity, but then
Yeah.
he's like really fit.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is
I
this
love
one's got a
this.
lot to do, but the background is going to be like when your TV like blares out and
Right,
it's like
yeah.
that color screen
Mhm,
across, and it's like that sort of thing. And then it's the Auguste Rodin sculpture of the thinker, except he's going to be on his phone, doom
Taking a
scrolling
shit.
on the toilet with a mockingbird shitting on his head, and then kind of this thought bubble going off in the corner. That I don't know if I'm going to include a thought in there, but I might just leave it empty or do dot 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 or something.
Yeah.
And I want it to be kind
You
of
could
about
do the like when you're texting on an iPhone, like
And
the dot dots.
yeah, exactly.
The shading on this is really cool.
Okay, so this is just an underpainting right now, and I'm just kind of figuring out my value scheme where the darks and lights go. Usually, if you're painting for realism, that's gonna be the first thing any teacher tells you. Pick out your darkest dark, pick out your lightest light, make those, and then fill in all that stuff. And once I've kind of got this value scheme, then I can think about color, and I'll probably just glaze. It's kind of one of those. I don't know if it's brass or bronze, but it's kind of greened with age, but it's still kind of black. I'm not even sure what the material is, but basically I'll glaze some green back into that and kind of make little hatch marks and etchings where there might be highlights and turn it into kind of a shiny, metal substance. So just over the course of adding layers to the painting.
I mean, just from my point of view right here, like it really like it looks almost 3-dimensional. Like it looks metallic almost. Like it's
well,
popping out.
that's a good start to here, hopefully. So
yeah, it's really it's
Yeah.
impressive. It's,
I'm excited, and that really what I love and what that guy Jason gave to me was like, it's so cool to see different textures all next to each other, but they're all paint. So you can have a super shiny handgun next to a wet rainbow trout next to a cotton ball, and they're all painted.
It's all painted.
Yeah, it's like I just
You
fell
think
in
it's
love with
mixed
that
media
illusion.
almost, but
Yeah,
it's paint.
yeah. I love
That's great.
the best comment I can get on my paintings is when I show someone on my phone and they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah," because like usually if they realize they're painting, they'll be like, "That's paint." But when they're like, "Oh yeah," and then they're like, "Hey, cool Photoshop," and I'm like, "Oh, thanks," that sort of a thing. Because
Right.
like I want them to think it was made on a screen. Like that's a big compliment to me, almost.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah. So you try to like play with this person's perception.
yeah, definitely. And I just think it's cool too to like see the technology that we're afforded today and just the perspectives. And I think that a lot of people making art today, not all of them, there are a huge amount of artists that I respect, but so many people are so eager to just put stuff out and get famous or get recognition or make sales off their stuff. And it's really, I want that too. Like I want to
We
be a
all
rich and
want
famous
that.
artist. Everybody wants to be a superstar, but it's important to me that I'm good at my art. And I
that's
don't,
fair.
if the art is good enough, it will get noticed. Someone
Yeah.
will like it. So I'm just focused on like, I want to put my head down and just
Honing
be
in
the
your
best painter I can be. And
talents. Yeah.
like when I get invited to be on a podcast, I'm going to do it. This is awesome.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like I want to get good at painting before I'm concerned with anything else. And hopefully if I just, put all my oats in
Yeah.
that basket, someone will
That's a
go
good.
for that one.
That's like a good. That's a really good way to think about it.
Yeah.
Like
It gives me hope in a way.
respecting the craft.
Yeah.
Before you can like yearn to reap the benefits. That's that's really important. I think for a lot of artists, it's like don't do something because of where you hope you might get. Do something because you enjoy it.
Right. And I like the idea of playing with like perception because like I sometimes think about like the idea of like looking at a car, and if you look at the wheel in the right way, like while you're driving, like you can like see it just like go backwards or like even just like stop as it's going.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I think like when artists like actually try to like not make money, but like actually try to play with like the perception of like how we like exist, like it for a moment there, it kind of just like that's a moment that like I remember. I'm like in the moment, and it's just like whoa.
Yeah.
Like having like really talented artists like kind of like play with like how you see life is kind of just like
Oh, totally.
yeah. It's
That's the artist's job, is to interpret, what it is to be alive and be a human, and like how are you perceiving like this, anomaly of being alive, and I don't really think you can become an artist, but I think a lot of people are kind of born to like be an artist, and it's basically showing people the world or this absurdity of life in a new way. It's like here's how I see the world, and that like we see it every day. Like if you watch TV, if you watch YouTube, if you like look at shit on Pinterest, that's all like people all created that shit. Like someone created that, and that's just how like somebody interprets what's happened to them throughout life or what they see. And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
It's like human connection. That's like why we all make art. That's why we're all doing this podcast.
One of my favorite quotes, and I forget who said this, but basically consciousness, right, is the universe's way of knowing itself, right? And so like if you can portray that in art in any way, and like, it speaks to the human condition, I think.
Yeah. There is something, so like there's some different paradigms of seeing the world that have some historical precedent, but like the modernist ethic, which is what we all probably live in, just based on like the culture that we live in and stuff like that. The idea that like progress is a good thing and human rights and all these things that kind of come from the enlightenment that our like American society is based on. There's this idea that art is like a window into the transcendent, and it's like something can be gleaned from that, and we can take something and it says something about the human condition. And a lot of what the current art universe is more preoccupied with is this postmodern ethic, which is that all art is self-referential and meaning is not possible with the science and symbols that we have. And I think both of them make good arguments in the right context. But the art world is at a war right now with, classic artists still doing the old ways and trying to make, things that require real human effort and have real wisdom. And there's postmodernists that are purposefully kind of tearing down those institutions and challenging people to think in new ways that can spiral into like a bad diseased nihilism, but also can lift the curtain on, what is real truth with a capital T if you want to get at it, modernist and all your kind of opinions. So there's a clash in like what art even mean, like, because what art looks like has been up for debate for a long time, but what art even means is kind of like in a question now more than ever.
It's kind of the same like with music and that, like
I got pissed so bad.
Okay, but so like but back in the day, I guess whatever, you'd have to have composers, someone writing music, on sheets of paper and having whole orchestras, play or on a piano. And now I sit in my bedroom in my bed on my laptop and make music from my fucking laptop.
Right.
And it's like, and I can make the same sounds as a whole orchestra if I want, but it requires minimal, but I can do it just in my bed on the laptop because of this technology,
Right, it's made art more accessible.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, but it's lost the, I guess, the skill or the drive to have someone compose a whole work of art. Whereas I can just, wake up and just do it from my laptop.
Well, one thing that I'm amazed by, and like one thing that lights a fire under my ass, like when I'm creating, is like I got to go to the Louvre, and every single work of art in the Louvre, not every single one, but many of them, like the paintings on display there that are like 20 feet long and 15 feet high, they must have taken years and years for people to make, and it's like the camera hasn't even been in yet, and there's 50 figures in this painting, and they all look more real than the person standing in front of me. And you spent 7 years working on this damn painting, just like toiling day in and day out for this like one thing. And people do amazing stuff all the time. Like you can spend an hour on YouTube looking up amazing things done this year, and you could your head could be blown off with like the amount of skills and abilities that people have. But it seems to me like it was harder back then for people to do that stuff based on the lack of luxuries they were afforded in their day-to-day life. And they didn't, like an artist back in the day, like when you look at one of those big Louvre paintings, we have paint in a tube, you squirt it on your canvas, you mix it up, you paint it on there. One of those artists, they had to get the oil paint like powder, they had to dump it out, they had to ration out with the correct amounts of linseed oil and what other medium and mix it there in their studio. And once they got up, that paint was no longer useful. Like think of Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel on his back. How many human beings do you know alive today that would have like the grit and determination to get that done? It's like I don't know any practically. Like
I think that's a little bit like
That's why he's a legend, though. Is because he
undervaluing
did.
like our current, because I feel like there's still people who will still like reach higher, even though like creating art has become easier. I feel like that's given a reason for like people to reach higher instead
That's a good point, yeah.
And so like it's kind of like I equate it to this our early programming. You're basically talking directly to the computer in order to execute some function. And nowadays we have these packages where it's like someone has set up all that backend stuff that's talking to the computer, and so now I can kind of just easily access a package that's gonna like I'm gonna say do this, and it's gonna do all that shit in the background, make it like super. But now that I feel like that puts more responsibility on me to create something better, so that then like the next person
they set it up so that you can then
like climb higher.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah. Hey. Okay, so we've talked a lot about art, but I mean, Jackson is a man of many talents. I want to know, how long have you been boxing?
Well, I don't box anymore, but I boxed my 4 years of college and then the year after it as well.
What was your record?
Yeah, did you have any professional fights or amateur?
No, I had one amateur fight, which I lost, unfortunately, but...
By knockout?
No, I didn't get knocked out. I lost split decision. I lost one. I've lost 3 fights total, and I lost 2 of them split decision, which is a bummer because it means
that is a bummer.
half the judges think you won, but the half plus one didn't. So that's a bummer. But what was the question then?
So you were boxing for 4 years, and then another question I was gonna follow up with, I guess going back to art, kind of just like the relationship between that. Do you see one? Is there one that even exists?
Yeah, I think. Well, I'm a big, I played football in high school too, and it's like there's coaches that'll be like football as life coaches. That's the thing. Like where coaches be like, when you're down on your luck and you've got credit card debt, like think of this moment, that sort of thing. And for whatever reason, that has always actually struck with me very like hard. I'm like, I like applying that logic of like your back's against the wall, that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
It's like, this is your moment. You will never have another moment.
Yeah.
Kids walking on the field like, Jesus, I don't even want to play now. Like, my
like
whole
bitching
life's
about
going to be
his life.
shit. Like,
just
what?
basically math
low
homework
key,
to do.
just like my wife left me, but you know what? I'm still here.
I have this football team with you underage kids, and that's what's important to me now.
Anyway,
But anyway, my point was that like I see a lot of things when I'm painting that I realize, wow, there's kind of a lesson here for my life at large, like with this small thing. And because basically what doing a painting is, it's confronting little problems along the way, and then you have to come up with some sort of solution that makes that better into the future, so that hopefully the overall product is better. So if I'm doing a figure drawing, I'm trying to find the angle of this person's back, and I've got this mark, and it's not working or it's not accurate, I have to say, okay, take a deep, maybe step away from the painting for a little bit, come back, see what's wrong with that line or that shape, take a real look at what you're actually seeing, and then apply that vision and come back with a fresh perspective. And there's just times in life where maybe I'm like troubled with the same issue over and over again, and I have to think like, okay, maybe I just need to like step back away from that situation and come back with a fresh perspective and like really take in what's going on here. Just that's just like one example, but I come up with all that stuff all the time with painting, where it's problems and you overcome them. In boxing matches the same way, where if I can't land that jab, or when I throw the jab, I'm getting hit in the face. I need to keep my hand up when I bring it back, that sort of thing. And if you don't do that, my wrestling coach in high school said the saying, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same result. And there are so many people that could use to have that shouted in their ear because they repeat the same behavior and you find yourself in the same place because of it. A painting is, don't be insane. Do something new. Do something that works, or let that layer dry and then do something over top that's going to improve it. So I guess that would be one broad parallel, but that kind of applies to anything you do in life, you know?
Right. Do you think of yourself as someone who, if something goes wrong, you're going to put the blame on yourself?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I definitely think like personal responsibility is like a hugely important value of mine that I would say that like probably trickles into my politics and other things. I think that if there was more just personal accountability and people like wanting the best for themselves, I've heard like a metaphor. There's so many people that have maybe you have a illness or something and you're prescribed medication. Most people are more likely to, like if they have a dog that's sick, they're more likely to give their dog the medication than they are themselves. And I'm like, so you care enough about the dog to give it its medication, but why won't you fix yourself? And it's like, if people, not to say that you shouldn't give your dog the medication, but like make sure to be responsible for yourself too. Like think about if you were your own dog, take care of it, when it's into shape. So yeah, I would say that's a very important value of mine.
For sure. Do you think it has helped you advance the way that you have?
Yeah.
Or what, if not, what do you think has been your advantage?
I think one obvious one is that like I really enjoy what I'm doing. Like I like going out and hanging out with people and drinking beers and stuff. I like hanging out with my friends. There's some other outdoor activities to do. I like lifting weights. There's some things I like to do. But right at the top of that list is painting. Like if I could wake up and do anything, I'd like to get a few hours in painting on the last day of my life. Like if you're going to tell me I'd die tomorrow, at least 3 hours of those are going to be painting, just because it's something that I truly enjoy, and it hasn't gotten old yet. So that's one edge. But I would definitely say my experience, like just like in sports, and there's this, like I just mentioned, I wrestled in high school. There's a saying among wrestlers that once you've wrestled, everything else in life is easy. Yeah. And knock on wood, so far that's been, not that everything's easy. I'm not some like super successful mogul or anything, but like on a day-to-day basis, I'm like, I've endured worse than this, like at the moment, so.
Yeah. What weight class did you wrestle?
I was everywhere between 182 and 215, but I was best at 195.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you powerlift in high school at all?
I never really did powerlifting, no. But I know you did, Dane.
Yeah. I was a little boy. It was good for my weight class.
He's a value.
What do you think of MMA?
So if my friends ever listen to this, they'll make fun of me because like when I boxed in college, I was like a boxing purist, and the stand-up game and the old gentleman's. Right, it's a classy sport.
I mean, the mustache
sort of
wouldn't argue against you.
And honestly, like when I first started watching MMA, some of the stuff with like when a guy gets clipped and he's bleeding out of his forehead and then it's just like bang, bang, bang. That like brutal violence I was not a fan of, but I gotta say, the more I watch it, the more I kind of like it.
I love
and,
MMA.
I mean, part of my thesis this year is about, it's called Fancy Monkeys, the animal that became a god, and it's pointing back to the simple truth that we are all monkeys. As much as we like to deny it, like I just said, be concerned with these things out of our control, like aliens and God and our appointments we have to make, and all these things. Like you are a hairy creature that has to shit and piss and eat and sleep to stay alive. And the fact that we live in this amazing society where we're afforded the luxuries of all these other distractions is very after the fact, based off your primitive existence. And when I think of sports that truly like emblematize like the human experience and what it is, what's better than pitting two men together to just kill each other in
or
a cage?
women?
It's like, that sounds brutal and people are not going to like that, but I mean that is like, if you want to feel like a human being does, like in nature, that's what it is. It's like two men toe to toe, and even though there's that primal aspect too, just the amount of like skill and technical detail that goes into their training and all the moves and approaches and how it's chess simultaneously with the barbaric quality. I just think it's super attractive, and I love MMA.
For a while there, like boxing and MMA, I was like kind of like, like I went like back and forth like on it, like when I was younger. But then I like philosophically now look at it as like, all right, we're just basically trying to figure out who the toughest guy on the block is. Like that's all it is. It's like, all right, this guy, I heard he was really tough, and I heard this guy was really tough. What happens when they fight each other? And, you know, that's kind of like what MMA and boxing is. It's like, you know, with every other sport and with every other thing, we try to figure out, like, who is the best? Who is the best basketball player? Who is the best musician? Who is the best painter? Well, if we're going to figure out who's the best fighter, we're going to have to throw them in a cage together and see what happens.
I love MMA. Mixed martial arts. You know, these men have to be, and women, they have to be talented in not only boxing, but they're black belts, and they can wrestle. You know, it's like they're masters of all these different types of
ways to kill
martial
people.
arts.
Yeah.
Right.
Literally, but it's impressive, and it's
One thing that I know more about boxing and fighting than the average Joe. Like I'd feel more comfortable probably like in a street fight scenario than like the average Joe for sure. But that's not to say like I would never go out like willingly looking for conflict, because I know the consequences of it. And the thing that makes MMA such a different sport than basketball, where there's amazing athletes that if they did MMA, they might run away with the title, you know, because they're so physically gifted. But the consequences being so high, like the balls it takes for anybody to just get in a ring of any kind. That's why, like, when I watch fights, I never like to hear people saying like, "Oh, like this guy sucks or needs to get his hands up." It's like, yo, that guy is like, like his head is like he is on death's door right now. Like, whatever advice you have, like you're not the man in the arena. Like Teddy Roosevelt said, like this is his moment, you know. So just like I just tip my hat to anybody who has the guts to like do it in the first place.
Yeah, because you got all those people looking at you. You got like
and even if you're not knocked out or concussed, just the shame and like feeling of like hopelessness if you lose. It's not like losing a football game. I've done both, and losing a fight sucks. It's like, man, you know.
Everybody just saw me get my ass beat or just lose, you know. Damn, man. I feel like this is a pretty good conversation, but I mean, I'm basically done. So.
Then, I mean, tell us if you want to wrap it up for us.
Yeah, I think it's about time to wrap it up. Jackson, it was really cool having you here.
Yeah, this has been great.
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like we obviously couldn't go over everything that you do, but I think that's why we have the hope of having you on again in the future.
That'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to be back sometime. Hopefully, some new stuff to show you and talk about.
Hell yeah!
So
that's the plan. We hope on doing this for quite some time. So
cool.
And
I am
hopefully we make it past 8, right?
Right. Yeah.
Past 8. Yeah, I'm a very excited shithead.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's freaking go. Let's go. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into the podcast. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Dookie Show.
This right here is going to be the shit. Yeah.